There we go. See if that holds up here for us. Just trying to prop my chat up here so I can see them. Hopefully that starts. All right, so we like the fractal we have already built out here. The only thing I don't really like is this imbalance in the chart. And this has happened 3 times, right? So we had imbalance, imbalance filled, imbalance, which is not good. Not good at all. You know, yesterday in the VIP Discord, we did a couple of things. We just kind of pointed out. Let's see if I can just open this. All right, guys. So I didn't get a Sunday video in because of this is just the. I'm gonna mute it. You don't need to hear me talking. Now, we talked about trend coming in, shoulder head shoulder to the upside. This is the kind of thing you're going to get over in the VIP Discord. If you're not in there, there's a free chart at the top of the screen for you. We talked about some altcoins doing the same thing. We talked about Sol doing the same thing right now. Our entry at 124. We talked about a bunch of different altcoins in here. I believe ADA, Hype, Morpho, Ethereum, and a couple other ones. ADA was the other one, and XRP and Ondo. But all those plays, you know, they came to fruition today. They had that local head and shoulder at the bottom of the range. Here it is on the intraday for us. We're going to get to these macro trend lines here in a minute, but shoulder, head, shoulder. So this is manipulation, guys. This is always what we're looking for. So we set up a range. We manipulate this range. We get ourselves back above the range, and then we just take off, right to the upside. So you can see the pattern here on ETH. You can see the same exact pattern here on Ondo, the same exact pattern here on XRP, the same exact pattern here on Morpho. I'm not even sure how you say that. ADA, Sol with a nice tap in at 124 here. AVAX, same exact pattern. Hyperliquidity, same exact pattern. Tron, similar pattern, not quite as pronounced. And then BNB, exact same pattern. Now, the one thing I do want to point out too, these are the like top high liquidity altcoins. I mean, top 100, top 10, you know, top 15, top 20, wherever these guys lie, they're somewhere in the top 20, right? You know, when we get into some other things, those patterns start looking less and less true. It's tougher to spot. I mean, I think you can see it here on SWI. I think you can actually see it here on PAL. This is pretty low liquidity. You can't see it on CKB. Liquidity is too low. You can't really see it on ENA. Liquidity is too low. You definitely can't fucking see it on PIN. You can see it a bit on Pump Fund here, right? The Trump meme coin, you can actually see it here. FET, can't see it. Cubic, another beloved one. Kind of. But the lower liquidity these coins get, the more difficult it is to spot these patterns, right? So obviously it's not on VeChain. The edge is still going down. Pulse Chain, that's Pi. Farcoin, heavily manipulated to the downside. Anyone token, like some of these are just more difficult than others. You can see how thin liquidity is on this. Farcoin, again, because of the low liquidity, the manipulation phase is super steep. That's an extra 21% drop. Like nobody can short into that and hold, or long into that and hold that. But that's by design, right? So let's head back over to Bitcoin and see these larger trend lines we got to get over now. So let's just back it up and see if we had just a quick 15-minute structure here. That was our break. So, yeah, we talked about the short the other day in the premium Discord in the live as a review. Actually in New York yesterday in the morning. You know, we talked about where you should have grabbed that short, right? On that lower high. So we had our weekend pump, and this is the same thing upside down, right? What does this look like? If this is what we just reviewed, here's your bottom, here's your manipulation, we get back into range, and then we continue, right? But that was upside down. So into the, let me get sure I get my dates right here. I think that was Saturday afternoon. We got to go back a month here. So the 28th was Friday. So Friday night into, well, that was morning. That was actually New York Open, right? So New York Open gave us that manipulation phase over the top here. Whoops. Alt I. So we had this nice, like when you're looking for these shorts, you're looking for, look at all this. So rejection in Asia, rejection in London, rejection in New York PM, rejection in Asia, rejection in London again. That is all resting liquidity in the market. That is always a range that we're targeting to hit. So we have a nice range high, we have a manipulation, and then a return to range. Like that's our key to short or long. We have a manipulation and a return to range, right? And it was all downhill from there. We caught the trend line again on the 15-minute. So if you didn't grab the short here, you were looking for something under our current liquidity curve, okay? And that gets a little easier when you just follow the structure, period. It's all about structure at the end of the day. It doesn't need to be any more difficult than that. So if we're in the 15-minute chart here and we're looking for our sell-off from our manipulation phase, and then we're looking for our low, which we have not closed below yet, and then the C, once we bounce off this low, can we close above the high that made it? Right? Or the high it made, because the high that made it's still way up here. And we did, right? So all we're going to do is we're going to move this low up to the new high. With high, what low did this high make? Made this low right here, right? Did it break structure again? It did. So the new high was here. The low it made was here. So now price action is starting to get really tight here. Okay. Now it's not ungodly tight for just smashing short for 50x, right? It's still a 0.75% channel. But the goal is for price action to break this low or break the high that created it. Now it reached one more time up here and could not get it, right? Now if we zoom in to the Sunday night CME Open here on the 15-minute chart, let's do it on the 15 and then we'll do it on the 5, right? We know we want to fall below this liquidity curve for a short, but we need some sort of price action that's going to tell us to go short. So the 15-minute doesn't actually break until about right here, right? So you're well below curve, 15-minute structure is broken, and then you can entertain the short. But if you go into the 5-minute, this gets a lot easier, right? So you know you're tapped out. You know you're looking to come down. You know there was a manipulation on Friday to potentially do that. Here was your 15-minute low. At the top was your 15-minute high. And where did you actually have a 5-minute structure shift? So we put a new 5-minute high in here. And then we had a new 5-minute low right at the 15, right? So price action comes down. It bounces right off the same low and then breaks structure, right? So at this point in time, you have localized, you know, where your 5-minute continuation break is. And now you're looking to claw back demand, right? So where is this was already on the chart, but this is fair value, right? So once we rebalance fair value, you look for the continuation short, right? So this play would have looked something like this: short position, looking for a fill or an SFP of the rebalance. You can cover the high. And then we know, where does this fractal break, right? I probably would have played it to here. I don't remember exactly where I did. But it went even further. It didn't take the whole thing. But what's risk to reward look like on this? So for a 0.39% stop loss, which is kind of big in my opinion, you could have crammed 14% on the account there. Now, if we just, let's do that in the calc for you. So let's go. It's already set the 25x for me. I think I have it open on my other monitor. I do. So entry was 91,593. 91,593. Our stop loss was top of range at 91,923. 91,923. And our exit plan, you know, if you wanted to get aggressive with the fractal, I think this is, I mean, even if you just played it to the first range bottom, let's give it every benefit of the doubt. 86,600. Bring it back over. There we go. Hit the wrong hotkey. Okay, so that is going to be a short. If you had a $5,000 account, your risk capital is $250. So if you get stopped out here, so if you take the entry and it just bloop, 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 comes back and takes you out, you lose $250, right? Of your $5,000 account. But if it does not, you are currently positioned short with a leverage set of 25x with a margin used of 2,775, so $2,775 for a nominal position size of 0.75 Bitcoin. So you're about 85K short. And your risk to reward is about 15.13. I don't think I have this pulled exactly where it needs to go. I don't. I must have it set a little different in here. And then your estimated P&L is 3782, right? So if you put that much on it with a risk, oh, that's a 5% risk. I apologize. It's not going to be that great. I've been playing with a little more, but we're going to tone that down a little bit to the normal 1 or 2%. We'll set it to the, let's just set the 1%. What did I have it set on to? So 1% of your account, you lose $50, right? And then you make 756. But you can see how this plays over and over. Even if you had like a 5x short, you still put $2,700 on it. You can still lose only $50 and you still make $756. So the leverage doesn't matter, right? Until you start getting to this range up here where, you know, if it spikes on you, you lose a lot more money. You know, I try to keep it reasonable. So it was a good play overall. But you can see how if you take this risk factor up to 2% of your account, you know, you double your profits. If you take it up to 3% of your account, you triple your profits. If you take it up to 4% of your account, you know, it goes up. So the better you are a trader, the more money you can hammer in these things and the more you can make, right? So that was our drop on the weekend. And now we're kind of making higher lows now. And let's get into this macro where we need to find. Let's delete this shit once. Too many live streams going. It's lagging my... There we go. My chart. So somebody brought this up this morning. You know, we have this macro rejection area, right? And we're breaking through it. Let's get rid of this. And, you know, I think potentially we were even through this earlier, but... So tap 1, tap 2, tap 3, and we have broken up and over, right? Sorry, I'm tapping things below me. So where's next? Well, we have a number of resistances here. As far as horizontals, you know, we have a lot of the same thing. A lot of resting liquidity right back in this area, right? And why do we have that excess supply in the market? It's just been the hammer, right? Rejection, 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 rejection. You know, do we get a fourth rejection, or have we come up into this area enough times to eat up all the people who want to re-short at this level? So have we soaked up the liquidity high enough that we just break through it? Have we run it thin enough? And if we look at the order book, you know, we talked about this being a gap this morning. We straight through the gap. We talked about that before open. But, ouch. Look, here's the interesting thing on the order books, right? We're looking at a 1 hour chart. We can probably zoom this out to a 4. Now, what I'm saying is not always gospel, but look what happens when we actually dropped. Well, let's see if I get a better way to point at shit here. We'll just do this, right? So look what happens when we dump this level, right? Automatically, we had new shorts in this zone, right? Or closed positions. That's resistance, right? So came up into resistance, still resistance, came up to resistance. This has not disappeared yet. There's still resistance there. But now look what's happened on the chart. When you come up into this area here now, what's been pulled? Well, this area on the charts is no longer extended over price action. So is that the books clearing out of the way for the potential for us to just keep going up? You know, we have to look at the local levels as there is some shorts coming into the zone now. But the higher up level that this rejected off of last time is no longer there, right? And this is just mob charts. Okay, so if we go back into some kind of tighter macro range here, we expect to have resistance in this area, but it's not super thick yet, right? You know, we're just wicking into a 12 million block, but look above us here. We have 85 million sitting above us, right? Doesn't mean we just go straight for it. You know, maybe we come down here into this zone here and then bounce up and get this. But I'm more bullish on feeling like this break is going to bring us a little higher. We're back at 91K, right? And there's a ton of resting liquidity above this zone. So if the bulls are going to break bears' backs here, it's going to be into this level and then potentially a retest and then a potential continuation phase, right? Now, the next little area of interest we have would be in here. And then we're looking at this fractal break, like this curve right here, right? So this is the larger touch that we have currently on the charts. And that's the top of the market one, right? So tap, double tap, shy of tap, just shy of tap, and we rolled downhill. So if we can get over 94.205 here, you know, that's when I think we really get a run up, because the next area of rest and liquidity in the market would be a little bit of a pit stop here, you know, of, you know, November 3rd through the 14th or 15th here. So about 2 weeks of rest and liquidity sitting above this level. And this is the weekly retest zone, daily retest zone, but more likely we have so much resting up here for stop losses. So October 10th through November 4th, about 3 weeks of stop losses sitting up in that area. Now it's a lot of work and we don't ever just go straight up, but you know, we're in a pivotal position now where we can actually set the first higher high on the charts by breaking above 93.1 here, right? If we can get a daily close, and every time I say this, we don't do it because that was the confirmation I needed. But if we can get, you know, a green candle to close above the market here with some sort of, you know, tailing wick saying, hey, look, we want to go higher. I'm bullish on we keep going, right? And a lot of altcoins could feel the same way. And again, it's not saying that we go to all-time highs. It's just we target level by level. We're day traders. We're not bag holding any of this shit. We're just watching to see where we can go, right? And then we'll play the next play, right? So, you know, we grab the short when it says grab the short. We cut the short, take the long where it says take the long. You know, we have had a bunch of swing positions here that are really, really nice over the last couple weeks in the group. And we'll continue to do that every day in New York, right? Today I was eyeing up a trade, but ended up taking it because the 5-minute level didn't break. But we'll look at this just real quick, and then we will go into some other coins here if people have questions. We'll look at some charts. So here's where we started getting a pullback. And we made a 5-minute high. We made a 5-minute low. And if we zoom in here even more, I think it was here, right, guys? Where was I drawing that shit on the chart? Was I watching M2? That was the 2-minute low was here. We broke right back above it. So I'm always watching for a 5-minute shift, right? It doesn't matter where the curve's at this point in time or where you draw it from. I'm just looking for a 5-minute shift. So I'm looking for the 5-minute to make a low and a high. So here's the new low. Here's the new high. Right? Then we broke structure again. Here's the new low. Here's the new high. And I'm looking for this to get so tight that it flips the other way, right? So if it doesn't make a new high here and it just comes down and puts in a fresh low, you know, we have a signal at least for a short scalp. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now. So I always just have alarms on these if I'm not at the computer, watching for this to break or for this to break, right? But we're getting up into that liquidity level. But I want some sort of structure shift to tell me, hey, look, dummy, start paying attention to a short, right? Let's take a look at some other charts. So let's update our ETH chart. This needs lots of love. Look at all this crazy shit. Brush, brush, brush. The ETH chart's actually going pretty good. We got stomped out of this long. That is no longer there. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. We have a new curve. What did we hit on Bitcoin? Yeah, we're breaking over. Okay. So our original idea with ETH was still like a sell, a buy, and like a nut. This was going to be the shoulder, the head, and then the shoulder was built out, but we broke the shoulder and came back down and set a new trend, right? So that's the bearish scenario again with ETH is we don't come back up and create the higher high, right? We have to break structure. It has to take out. It has to take out $3,088. There's no choice here, right? To invalidate the downtrend, it needs to take out the uptrend. And if it does that, you know, we start hitting some of these gaps, right? We're potentially going to hit some sort of liquidity hit into all the rest of the liquidity in the market. Right, here's a couple weeks worth of 4-hour candles. That's a good wick area. That's a good SFP area. We come up and we get that, and then we back test what we broke, and then we have a continuation on the 4-hour, right? That's what we want to do. And then we want to target the next area and then the next area. But as far as those larger trends on ETH, that same hammer, right? You know, from the top of the market here, not even the top of the market, we've got several of those, but from the almost top of the market here, $4,700, $4,800, you know, tap 1, tap 2, fell short of tapping a couple times and just continues down to the downside. So if we can get above price action daily 4-hour above these levels, you know, I'm feeling bullish on ETH continuing to the upside, at least temporarily, right? You know, we've got several areas on this chart. If you're looking to, you know, target the next shorts, like I said, it's going to be, you know, about 10 days here. The larger one, in my opinion, is going to be up here at about a month, right? There's 22 days worth of price action up there that needs to have rest and liquidity wicked out of the market. But this larger daily pattern is what we've fallen out of. So the same thing with Bitcoin, right? So we just come back down and take the low probably. 1, 2, 3. Lost structure, and then breaking back into our formal pattern is where we want to be. Otherwise, this is a bearish retest of a daily break of structure and continuation to the downside into this weekly order block. I apologize, those keep going off, but you need them for trading. I could probably make them less obnoxious. So that's pretty much the plan on ETH from where we're at. I mean, nice daily engulfing candle. It needs to hold that for the day. That would be super impressive. Let's Go back in locally in Bitcoin. Nope, it's just going to keep going. Wicked it. So we're still watching here. Let's go on out to Ondo. We may be able to just reset this. This looks like ass. Yeah, this is so busted. Okay. Man, look at that blow off top for Ondo. That's crazy. Shoulder, head, shoulder. And I mean, you can't even get a measure move for this. It would be negative. Negative 64 cents. But there's no, like, if you're wondering why this dumped, I mean, it's just the accumulation, right? Never broke above. Let's see here. So, again, we have our hammer here, right? So tap 1, tap 2. I mean, do we get a tap 3, a reshift down, and a continuation to the downside for, you know, crypto bear winter, right? I don't know. We got to get above this or we don't, and we reject and we keep going to the downside. There's just no other options, right? It's break it or don't break it. If then. So pretty simple there on this idea. But, you know, we have some sort of internal curve here we're like really looking to break right now. So that's daily. Again, I'm going to pull this really tight just so I get an alarm on it. Did we set an alarm on this other one? We did not. So double alert's already set up for Ondo here. That's daily. Daily high is pretty simple. It's that weekend high, that Friday high. Same manipulation phase we had on Bitcoin and Ethereum. And getting back above this would be ideal, right? So let's go to the 4 hour instead of the daily. 4 hours got a fresh break of structure. If you're already long, stop loss is pretty easy at the bottom of the range here, right? So stop loss is going to be 45 cents. Lots of fair value to claw back. But we're setting up that cup and handle scenario, right? This is kind of how they all look. Actually, inverted fair value. If I was going to imagine where that was going to go, it's going to look a little something like this. Right? 4 hour potentially. If it doesn't just break straight over, you know, does one of these. And then you have this cup and handle. Then we have an extrapolation. Then we have a break structure. And this brings you over resistance 1. Right? So we have an excuse to get over resistance 1 here with some sort of play. Right? Depending on where this breaks out. I mean, I think the closer, like how I really like these breakout plays to do, I want them to reject off of this, right? Reject, 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 and then bang, right? So maybe this cup and handle comes a little wider, but that's the whole idea there, right? So this is 4 hour macro on Ondo. You know, if it does reject, we get a break of structure and a continue to the downside. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this in Discord. And if we get over that, you know, again, where's all that resting liquidity? It's at the highs. It's always at the highs. Where do you see multiple resistances at the highs? Well, here was the bottom of a previous auction. Here we are stuck below this auction, stuck below this auction. So there's going to be a shit ton of stop losses sitting at this level, right? And that measure move, you know, would probably bring us up through this gap at some point. Suck all this up, right? And then the next one, you know, loss of auction, support, break support, resistance, resistance, continuation to the downside. So next one's going to be up in this area. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull a fib here just to see if we can get I'm going to add this level here. This is the golden pocket. So this would be a nice one to get above. So again, support, support, support. We broke support. Now resistance. So potentially we get, you know, price action that looks like this. Let me just label this here quick. So I'm just kind of trying to visualize what price action would have to look like to get above that. So it's probably going to do this, right? Well, we don't want that wick. Hold on. So once we get up here into this daily golden pocket, you know, what's going to happen next is really going to be the image is being pasted is too large. So what happens? We probably get some sort of pullback here, right? So the question would be, if this is the current golden pocket, where would the natural bounce zone be on a rejection, right? So range low to range high, we come back into, you know, the next golden pocket. And then we have this larger accumulation range that we set up, right? And then it looks like a shoulder ahead, you know, potentially a new shoulder, and then up and over. You know, we have to start seeing what price action does at that point. But in the daily golden pocket would be nice. But we got a couple things we got to get over in the meantime. Let's take a look at XRP. Looks just like Ondo. I mean, I think it's the same shit the whole way down the line here, guys. I mean, ADA looks the same, except we're down here now. Let's take a look at some other plays. So never got the confirmation on that. Man, these things are flying, dude. Silver still making all-time highs. Look at this shit, dude. Silver breaks structure to the upside. Our bounce worked out just fine. New 4-hour low. Entertaining short potentially on silver here. New 4-hour high. Just looking for these to consolidate. Our short got stopped. We're good. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Our liquidity curve remains intact on silver here. This shit's insane. So silver getting potentially, what we're looking at, shoulder, head, shoulder, continue down, or it pumps into historical price action that doesn't exist, right? It's all-time highs. It's just in price discovery. And boy, would that suck for the cost of things. So playing a 4-hour range here on silver. See if we can tighten that up on the hour at all. So hour low is the same. Potentially we will take an early warning sign here. This isn't an entry signal. This is just early warning. So silver does a couple things here, right? It's locally, is that invalidated? Not, I mean, kind of, not really. All right, do we fall back down in this range and this is the deviation? Let's just kind of look at where the volume's settling. So 57, that'd be a 15-minute shift. So here's M15. It's New York high. All right, that's enough levels in silver. We're just watching for a play, so we're looking for it to top out. Gold's kind of already doing that, right? So let's just take a look at our macro on gold. If gold pulls back, silver will pull back. So silver is like the altcoin to gold, right? So here's our OG break. We have a back test. We have an SFP. Our back test was correct. Here's our 4-hour structure low. We're on the daily. Here's our daily structure low. Get rid of that. Get our new curve in here. Tapped our order block. Ooh, if Ferrant ran it. What did we hit? 4-hour maybe? Just 4-hour imbalance. Didn't tap that either. Let's go to the hour. I have an hour order block. 15. There's a 5-minute order block here. I'm gonna shit my pants. Very rarely do you get these perfect. Let's see if we hit this. Jeez. It's like picture perfect. Right into the 5-minute block. New curve. Entertaining short already on gold. Market closes in 2 hours. Already broke trend. Already shifted 15 once. Twice. Filled fair value. All right, so we have an Asia play tonight, potentially into gold. So we're watching this. All right, I want to fill this whole fair value up. All right, so let's set an alarm. There we go. So gold tonight, we're looking for something like this, right? And then potentially back down to whatever sweeping low we want to hit. Let's see where all the resting liquidity is here. I mean, this is pretty nice. Let's check that against sessions. I mean, that's 3 to 1. That's perfect. If we don't get it, we'll reassess tonight. But that's the plan. So that would be congruent with like Bitcoin holding and commodities dumping. I mean, this could even come down here, but let's just call this TP1. This is trend. Let's go ahead and share this up off the 24. Yeah, 4,000s would be nice. And if we dump, like, if we're getting some sort of reverse in the cycle, IDK, I don't know, is that what you're called? Like, this could even entertain lower, right? We're historical gold prices right now, right? So we could even bring this down theoretically if it's a macro reverse. This little play could be down here, right? Like the 3,300 bucks, come back in, you know, catch some liquidity somewhere down here. I mean, look at all this resting, man. This is beautiful. We got 160 bars here on the daily. 160 days, 150 days worth of accumulation. And then, like, if I'm just like calling bigger corrections, like month-long corrections, you know, it's something like this, right? It's a breakout, it's a bounce, and then like a continuation phase, right? So somewhere in here, we're going to fast up, fast down. You know, somewhere in here, we're going to have some excess supply in the market where it denies it. And then we start, you know, pulling gold back down to earth on the weekly. Right. And then potentially it's like way down here into something. And then we get a bounce. Right. And then wherever. Again, that's putting the cart before the horse by a lot. But can you imagine a fucking 46% on account for a 16 RR play? It'd be a lot. You'd be sitting in for a while. But it's got to start somewhere, right? So every time we get one of these trends, you know, when the trend ends, you just cut the play, right? And when you get under trend, we're short until the trend ends, right? So if we have something like this, you know, it doesn't mean you're always right. It just comes back up to set a lower high and continues, right? But if price action comes down, gets the bounce, rejects, comes down, gets the bounce, rejects, and then all of a sudden you're making a higher high, you know the trend's shifting again on you. But that's why we use these trend lines. It's not necessarily, hey, look, I drew a line that connected points. I drew a line that determined my higher low or my lower high on my chart, right? So here's your high, here's your lower 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 high. Oop, we now have a higher high, right? It broke the high. And that's really the only reason we use trend lines. But some people just draw them so arbitrarily that it doesn't make any fucking sense. Does anybody have anything in chat they want to see or in Discord? I'm sitting with a bunch of people in the New York session live here that are left hanging out with us. And we've been live since, well, not live, but we've been in session in Discord with the premium guys since 8:30 this morning. I was a little late shoveling snow. Ben's down here training BitBoy. The BitBoy. They're about to cut interest rates. I don't think it'll drop that low. I mean, gold is different, man. Gold's risk off. So if we become more risky with assets, gold will pull back just because they're moving money into something that's going to give a better return. If gold's topped out, you know, we've been riding gold since, you know, whenever this trend was, right? I mean, fucking yearly trend at this point, right? Here's the first break of structure on the daily. It never came back and got that, but that's November of 2022. So, I guess stocks have been running up this hard too since then, but 93%, 139%. I mean, people are going to take profits on that. They're not going to just sit in that forever, which is ideal, right? People can take profits. That's how you trade. If you're not taking profits, you're doing it wrong. Everybody thinks you just add more money to the market and average down everything. It's not. I mean, maybe with bigger companies, but I mean, even with gold. If it's not a long-term investment strategy, you got to take profits and pay yourself. And my ribbon play is fucking killing it. We've broken structures to the upside again. Man, I'm looking for fucking $40 on this shit. Quick stop at 27. This has been a very long accumulation phase on Rivian. That's the wrong tool. Phew. That's daily. Over a year of accumulation down here. This thing's gonna bang so hard. Kind of setting that shoulder in with Clear Sky or Clean Spark. Oil still coming down. I mean, platinum's looking about the same here. I got a lot of things drawn on platinum here. But, you know, on a daily chart, we're looking for that shoulder, the head, you know, that next shoulder, and then continuation to the downside. Like, bring some of these precious metals down. Gold seems to be ahead of it, though. Copper, you know, blowout again, right? Just straight up. AMD started that gap fill, hasn't completed it yet. Almost into our buy zone, still short. There's the short I gave on the last live. Tapped you in, and then continuation to the downside. Let's take a look at the S&P. Let's take a look at the daily. Man, we're just making this box. Range low. I mean, we're currently long in the S&P. Did we get that break of structure? Here's our entry on our long. We had TP1 right there. So let's just 6665. Is that still my entry? Did I average this down? Looking at another monitor here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, same one. So we took a TP here and we're stomp out break even until this either keeps going up or we hit our next TP, which is here. But I'm always targeting liquidity high, right? Look at all this accumulation here. All this accumulation here we couldn't break above. So wicking up to this and then getting our next correction would be ideal. Awkward price action today, though. Doesn't know what to do with itself. Got a nice trend with lower high or higher lows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we wicked range high from last Friday. Yeah, this is just accumulating. So tap 1, tap 2. And I would suspect if we hold the low, we're going higher. So we'll entertain short if we lose. So a nice ascending triangle here. It's ascending until it's descending. One or the other. We just don't do anything in the middle of the range. Like, that's the most important thing. You wait to an extremity to make a decision. Middle of the range is just a chop fest. Especially with leverage. Bitcoin just fucking pushing here still. Looks like a lot of absorption up here. Man, 6.5% on Bitcoin today. That is insane, my friends. ADA with 11%, Sol with 10%, Ondo with 10%, FET with 13%. Aerodrome 13. Soul 10. Popcat 12. Ordinals 17%. SEI 15%. Burt 27%. Oh, you know what we looked at the other day that took off like a bat out of hell? Pippin. I don't think this is the one we TA'd. I think it was the MEXC chart. This is the MEXC chart. What did I take? I don't know what chart we looked at. I should have a bunch of drawings on it. That's certainly not it. See if I can find my... I don't know where I drew it. I wasn't interested in taking anything on it. I think we were like right here. How much farther is just drawn up? 100%. 160%. Damn. I just don't do all memes, man. That's crazy. I wish I could find the chart I was actually drawing on. I don't think I would have picked any of these other dog shit ones. Maybe I deleted it. All right, well, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I thought I'd get one in and talk about a little bit of the macro and some of the bigger trends. But I'm going to wrap it up. I'm out of here, guys.